We welcome you to the second floor of the Duncan Student Center for this episode of Shamrock Sports. Just 4 days ago, Notre Dame women's basketball lost gut-wrenching to NC State. Now they got back onto the court and, well, the same feeling stayed with them all the way back from Raleigh to South Bend. Let's get you caught up on what happened Thursday night against Florida State. We pick it up deep into the second quarter. Notre Dame's up 13. They were up by 15 at one point in the second quarter. Omira Gordon drives down the court, sees an open Sydney Boyles. She launches a three. She connects. FSU would go on a second quarter crusade. They would go on a 12-0-1 to get within three. Tipson underneath, spins, moves, gets the and one. Tipson would tie the game at 32. 1:50 left in the first half. FSU up for. Vegas gets it 4-3. She would be 3 for 3 in the second quarter from beyond the arc. Now, they would go in trailing, Notre Dame would, into the locker room for the second consecutive game. ND trying to get themselves back out in front. They go to Leah Two King into the corner, drives in off the baseline, works by two, gets fouled, and one. Notre Dame would make the free throw to be down one. They try and keep it on. Miles snags a pass, sees Olivia Miles up in motion. She grabs it and lays it in. Now, Florida State still hanging around. Maybe Notre Dame on upset watch right now with 5:04 left to play in regulation. Lapson would recover a rebound and go coast to coast, getting fouled by Olivia Miles for the and one. Seminoles would ultimately go on 11-4 run to hold on. This is the box score. The stats don't tell you the game that Notre Dame was outplayed for the second half of the game the entire way throughout it. With that, we welcome in our great insiders onto our studio set alongside McKenna Andrew and Trey Cotey. I'm Jacob Irons. Guys, it's cause for concern. You're losers of two straight. McKenna, what do you think about this right now for Notre Dame women's basketball?
Personally, I'm pretty concerned. The loss at State was a quality loss. State is a hard environment. They're a top 10 team. I'm from outside of Raleigh. I know how State fans are. They're intense. Good loss. Didn't play awful. Double overtime. Last night was not a quality loss. And at this point in the season, if we're going to have losses, they need to be quality losses. We should not have lost to the 24 seed as last week's number 1 seed. That is unacceptable, frankly. Seeing their gameplay just kind of regress from Sunday to last night, I think the loss kind of got in their heads. ACC play is tough. ACC is a tough conference for women's basketball, and I really think that last night showed that they need to turn something around on Sunday going into the ACC tournament, because when they go to Greensboro, they have Duke, they have UNC, they have State again. They will face Florida State again. They're going to see so many top 25 teams. They need to go in with a win if they want to make it far in that tournament and have a good seed for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and they had the opportunity at State to win the ACC regular season title. Then they had the opportunity yesterday to win the regular season title. Now it's going to come down to their last game against Louisville on Sunday. Trey Cotey, for you, are you concerned?
Not as much as my colleague McKenna is here, but still a little bit. And the concern mainly focuses on the defensive side from last night. As you mentioned, NC State, tough place to play, undefeated in conference up to that point. That's a quality loss. That's okay. With last night, this Irish team, their defense got figured out. Florida State in that second quarter outscored the Irish 30-17, 6 threes from beyond the arc. And how that happened? Well, they got Michaela Timpson rolling to the basket, finding the weak points of that patented Niall Ivy 2-3 zone. She's making plays down low, spinning, getting and ones, as you mentioned, Jake, and also kicking it out to the open shooters on the perimeter. And when you can kind of make that zone focus down in the middle, it opens up so much on the perimeter for all of your shooters, and that was by far their best quarter of the game and took them from being down 29-14, down 15, to going up 4 at halftime, something they never turned away from. And then when you switch out of that 2-3 zone and eventually go to a man-to-man defense, which the Irish did in the fourth quarter, that was time for Tanaya Latson, one of the best players in the country, to just go on an absolute tear. She had 13 in the quarter, couldn't get stopped from getting downhill. That's a bit of a concern. If the 2-3 isn't working, and then the man also isn't working, what are you going to do to stop a team with as much offensive firepower as the Seminoles were? Yeah, and you touched upon it right there. This is not great showing defensively by both sides. What is your cause for concern for both of you? Specifically, if you had to pinpoint one thing, what would you try and change different going forward?
I would really change the way that we're coaching and running defense. I think that our defense at NC State was shaky. Especially as the game regressed, you could tell that their stamina was kind of draining, didn't play as well, left a lot of open holes. After that game, Ivy said, a lesson for us is wanting to be better defensively. That's where my focus is being better defensively. Last night, they were not better defensively. They had a strong game plan, but when FSU caught on to that game plan, Coach Ivy didn't shift that and change it up, and that's really what allowed them to get in such a hole in that second half that allowed them to just not come back. So I'm personally watching their defensive side of the ball.
Trey, for you, you want to look on the offensive side and maybe one of the players of the year who concerns you the most.
Well, I'll tell you what, we had a very different show planned before last night, and one of those segments was going to be, why is Hannah Hidalgo not getting mentioned in more Player of the Year conversations? It felt a little disrespectful after last night. I don't know if that's a conversation
I don't know.
I
think she put a period to that conversation quickly.
Feels like it's Lauren Betts' award to lose.
Yes.
Hidalgo over the last 5 games, sub 20 points in 4 of them, and for most players that's not necessarily poor. You can see the stats right there on the season, and she's just not been herself. 4 of 18 from the field last night, taking a lot of really tough mid-range shots. She's just not playing her game. Olivia Miles, same thing, only put up 10 points. If the backcourt for this Irish team is not producing at the same clip that they have been throughout the season, it's going to be really challenging going forward to put the ball in the basket. And there are some bright spots. Sonia Citron been unbelievable in that same stretch that Hidalgo's been struggling on, averaging 20 points a game, almost 50% from 3 over that stretch. Leah King with a great game last night, but ultimately how far this team goes depends upon their killer backcourt. And if Hidalgo and Miles are shooting inefficiently, not creating as well for their teammates, and not putting the ball in the basket, it's going to be really tough for this Irish team to make a run deep in March.
It's tough because on top of it, you got to have your starters do something. In the fact that your bench points right now only had 12 bench points for the entire day. It is up to your starters right now for Notre Dame to get them going. We'll take a break and come back as we preview the game ahead that could potentially finally decide this ACC regular season title. This is Shamrock Sports. We'll be right back.
No ball? Let the seasoned ball knowers at Shamrock Sports get you up to date on all things ball around Notre Dame. Shamrock Sports airs 3:30 p.m. every Friday right here on NDTV. Go Irish.
Welcome you back here to the second floor of the Duncan Student Center. Now all the attention turns to Sunday. That is where all this attention goes to the regular season finale inside Purcell Pavilion. It's against a really Midwest rival, you could start to say. The rivalry started to brew against the Louisville Cardinals. How important is Sunday now after these back-to-back losses?
I think Sunday can kind of make or break their performance, especially in the ACC tournament. I'm keeping on going back to that because I think it's imperative that they win that if they want to get a first or second seed in the NCAA tournament. For Sunday, Louisville's top 25, quality opponent. I think we need to come out strong, start strong, keep strong throughout the second half, and really end the season, regular season, on a high note, cement that potential ACC regular season champions victory, and then that way we can look ahead, feel prepared, feel ready for the ACC tournament in March.
What do you think about on Sunday? You have ESPN's College Game Day coming into town, where they probably thought it was going to be a no-nothing game. Notre Dame was going to be walking away saying, hey, we're champions, it's going to be nothing. But now, everything's on the table.
And the Irish have played themselves into that situation, and certainly something's on the table because you're playing for a share of the ACC regular season title, and even if you win, NC State playing the SMU Mustangs 2-15 in conference, probably not going to have too much trouble there. So you're most likely looking at NC State being the overall 1 seed in the ACC tournament. Notre Dame playing for a share of the title. In terms of preparedness for March, I'm really going to downplay how much this game matters. With the last 2 losses, this game, I feel like the ACC tournament in general holds so much more weight for how this team is going to feel going into March. If they lose this Louisville game, certainly not a good sign. That's a horrible trend. But there is still time to pick it up and have a good showing in the tournament, beat some quality teams, as you were mentioning earlier, McKenna, a Duke. Maybe you play NC State again and get some revenge. You're going to have more opportunities to kind of get back on the right trajectory going into March. So this game against Louisville, while it certainly matters because you want to win a conference championship or at least a share of it, I'm not going to say it's the end of the world if it doesn't go as the Irish hope.
Yeah, and for them, you have to have the conversation. Is winning now that thing? For Notre Dame students, they got these fun glasses. They got glasses, and they were given out. Olivia Miles has nice rec specs. For Notre Dame, their hopes of being a 1 seed in this tournament snap just like these can snap in about 3 seconds. Because when you lose like that, you don't get a 1 seed. You are already on the absolute side of it. You don't get a 1 seed off of it. And then, I'm going to get on my soapbox here. To be an hour and 19 minutes late to your post-game press conference, I understand you have to correct something. But you have to correct something quicker if it already happened back-to-back games. Notre Dame's in a win-now situation with Olivia Miles, Sony Citron, Leah King. They are all stepping away at the end of the year. They are done. They have no more eligibility. It is win now for me. What do you believe?
I agree. I think that the nature of basketball as a whole, teams can't have these dynasties. I think we saw that this year with South Carolina not being as great as they have been in years past. The dynasty in women's basketball is broken, so it's like kind of who's going to be next. I think this is the last time for a few years that Notre Dame has that opportunity. We have Miles, Westbeld, Citron seniors. If Hidalgo ever wants to be at the same level as a Caitlin Clark, a Paige Bucker, she needs to have a national championship to her name, and I think that this is the year to get it. A very big Duke basketball fan, and in Duke basketball, they don't go back to back. They have certain years, every 5 or 10 years, where they play amazing, and then the next few years, they're not great. And I think that our last few years, we've been getting higher and higher in the tournament. This is the year we need to win. Otherwise, I don't think we're seeing the Final Four for the next 2-3 years.
This is certainly the best team the Irish have had since I can remember, at least. Maybe since some of ththose Enrique Gumbawale teams in the late 2010s. With the context of the transfer portal, I feel like it's almost impossible to say there's no way, because you look at this team, and certainly going to the offseason, they had a lot of good returners, but then you get a Leah King and Eliza Carlin, and a 5-star freshman, Kate Cavall, and you have all this incoming talent that is garnered from the portal. So, well, it certainly feels like this is the most talented Irish team we'll see for the next 4 or 5 years, at least, maybe. There's certainly hope for the future going forward that Neil Ivy's done it in the past, getting some big-name recruits. That could certainly happen again. But if you want to win, this is a team that has the chance to do it. And I feel like the season would almost be labeled a disappointment if you didn't at least make a Final Four run.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether they will be able to get to that Tampa location for the Final Four. Caitlin Klein is standing by. There's other news happening on campus in the athletic world. We send it over to her.
Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Klein, and here are your Friday headlines. Notre Dame Athletics announced Wednesday that the men's swimming program will be reinstated next season. The university banned the team from competition this season after an external review found that members of the team had violated NCAA rules regarding gambling. Director of Athletics Pete Vivacqua said in a statement, "Over the course of the last year, our men's swimming team has taken the critical and necessary steps to correct the issues that led to the suspension of the program this past summer. As a result, we have made the determination that our men's swimming team will return to full competition next season. While we have all learned some difficult lessons through this process, we are confident that this team is set up for success in the future." Meanwhile, the Irish have some new faces on the football coaching staff. Chris Ash has been introduced as Notre Dame's new defensive coordinator, bringing impressive experience from both the college and NFL levels. The Irish team is also welcoming a new running backs coach, Juwan Sider, who's ready to develop a strong backfield for the upcoming season. With spring practice on the horizon, all eyes will be on how these new additions shape the team's identity moving forward. Finally, it's a big weekend for Notre Dame's baseball and softball teams. Starting today, the baseball team hits the road for a weekend series against Belmont, looking to continue
And thanks so much, Caitlin. A lot of green over here in this corner. Ryan Murphy with Tyler Reidy here to talk some hockey. You're looking rather fly in the green jacket, appropriately dressed for tonight. It is Coach Jackson's last home series, and tonight they'll be in the green jerseys for the senior game. A lot to talk about with this series, Tyler. Both these teams come in with different sort of incentives to win. Michigan State's not been at their best after being one of the top teams in the country all year. Let's start with Notre Dame, though. What are you kind of looking for from the Irish this weekend?
Yeah, well, it's a good thing, first of all, that the Irish come into this weekend that has so many storylines and so many emotions off of a win. It hasn't happened much this year, knowing how this season has gone, but Notre Dame a 6-1 win at Wisconsin. Largest margin of victory this season. Most goals scored outside of Compton Family Ice Arena. That was last Saturday in Madison. So Notre Dame comes in with the victory and now has to focus on harnessing all of the emotions. Tonight you've got 11 members of this graduating class, because not only is it the last year that the fifth-year players can have the COVID year, it also becomes the first year that we go back to four-year seniors being the norm again. So it's an 11-member group here for the graduating class. They'll be honored before the game. And of course, moving into tomorrow night, everybody's going to know it's Coach Jackson's final game at the Compton behind the Irish bench. And if Notre Dame doesn't get it done tonight, it could be the do-or-die opportunity to get him his 600th win. He comes into this series at 599 career wins at well between Lake Superior State and Notre Dame. So a lot goes into this weekend. Notre Dame's going to have to manage it well, be consistent, be stable in their mental game, and take care of business against the number 3 team in the country.
And then for Michigan State, trying to play sort of spoiler to the celebrations on the road. They come in maybe at the low point of their season last weekend after losing both those games to Penn State.
Yeah, it's funny to say a low point because they're still the third-ranked team in America. That's how good Michigan State has been. They were the number 1 team for the vast majority of the middle part of the year, but they're 4-4-3 in their last 11 games. This hasn't been the same Spartans team results-wise, although they're still putting the puck in the net a lot. They had a 9-goal game against Minnesota in January, and they've got arguably the best goaltender, if not the hottest goaltender, in the Big Ten right now, in Trey Augustine, the sophomore, 3-year World Junior Championship participant. So they come in with a lot of weapons, obviously, but now they're looking up at Minnesota for the first time in forever for first place in the Big Ten standings. So Minnesota goes to Penn State this weekend. Penn State's the hottest team maybe in the country right now, so who knows how that series is going to go. MSU's 2 points behind the Golden Gophers right now, so the Spartans are going to need some results out of South Bend here this weekend and some help from the Nittany Lions, who just beat them to put them in this spot last weekend, to shake things out and get them potentially that first round bye in the Big Ten tournament. So a lot's on the line here. Notre Dame still doesn't know where it's going for the Big Ten quarterfinals next week. We'll see, but both teams, especially MSU, have a lot to play for.
Last weekend of the regular season, Notre Dame facing a motivated Michigan State team. What are you sort of looking at the keys? Because the Irish are going to be up against it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the number 1 thing for me is goaltending. Michigan State puts more shots on target than any team in America, and we saw what happened in East Lansing in November. Friday night, 8 goals in the back of the net for the Spartans against Owen Say, who has kind of re-emerged as Notre Dame's go-to guy in goal over the past 2 weeks. I would expect we're going to see a lot of him this weekend. He's going to have a bounce-back performance relative to what happened at Munn 3.5 months ago. He was great last weekend against Wisconsin outside of that first period on Friday. Number 2 thing I'm looking for is Notre Dame's ability to finish games. Michigan State tends to not give up a lot early and late in games, and even as they've gone cold over these last couple of weekends, they haven't given up a third-period goal in each of the last 3 games. In fact, they have only given up 16 third-period goals all season. That's remarkable, and a lot of that has to do with the fact their defense core has tightened up. They've given up way less shots on goal per game this year than they did last season, helping out Augustine, who has really the same save percentage, but the goals against average has dipped tremendously. Then the third thing for me is just go out on a high note. Stay consistent from last weekend. Make sure you get all the celebrations in, understand the emotions, salute the fans, salute the seniors, salute Coach Jackson. But at the end of the day, it's another business weekend, and it's your last chance to really make a statement here in the regular season and go into that Big Ten tournament, which is, again, your only hope for the big dance, on a good note.
Puck drop tonight is at 7 o'clock. Wear your green. Tyler Reidy got the assignment. I tried with the green pants. 7 o'clock tonight. Spartans and the Irish. Thanks so much for Tyler Reidy. My name's Ryan Murphy. Throwing it over to Jake, who's with Michael Fishburne, for more on the men's lacrosse team.
Hey, thanks so much, Murph. I would have liked the green memo. I think we could have done some fun stuff with that. I've got a green suit. We could have done it. Michael Fishburne's in it for us. And big games across campus. This one happening in Atlanta. It's men's lacrosse. A national title rematch here between Notre Dame and Maryland. What are you looking for at this marquee matchup in the sport of lacrosse?
First and foremost, and thank you, Giants, I kind of want to reflect, this isn't as much of a matchup as we want to, a rematch as we want to say, because it's a different game. Notre Dame's entering this game undefeated, as is Maryland. In the national championship last year, Maryland had 5 losses going to that game. It's been a lot different, and Notre Dame ended up throttling that Maryland lacrosse team. So both teams have been tested pretty equally. Notre Dame's 1, Maryland's 2. Notre Dame's coming off a narrow victory against Georgetown this past weekend. Maryland's coming off 3 top 20 wins. So it's really going to be a lot more physical and a lot more of a contest than it was last year.
Yeah, and you look at these games, it's always players deciding who's going to play out.
Absolutely.
Who's a player right now that we need to look for?
You know, you got to look in the crease. You know, across both teams, you got to look in the crease. For Rich Yardelli, earlier this year on the show, we talked about there might be a controversy between him and Zeph. It really hasn't looked that way as it's played out. Rich Yardelli's played good. Against Georgetown last week, he had 16 saves to 9 goals allowed. Before that, he had 11 saves to 9 goals allowed on the year. So he really stepped up last week. He stepped up against a competitive opponent. Now this week, we're going to need him to protect against those high-rising corner shots to secure an Irish victory, because he hasn't proven that he can save those this year, and he's going to have to prove it against Daniel Kelly and Eric Spanos. Now for Maryland, their goalie too, he's going to have to step up as well. You know, he wears Maryland's coveted #1 jersey, similar tradition to Penn State's #11 in football, and if that says anything, he's a dog. He's an animal. His resume proves himself. He was named to the Tewaaraton preseason award watch list. He's got 48 saves on the year. We're going to have to step up and take any chance he gives us.
There's a 15-5 victory in favor of the Fighting Irish in the city of brotherly love. What do you got for a score in Atlanta?
Absolutely. I don't know if I'm feeling confident because of last week. I think this game's going to overtime. I'm taking the Irish in a 10-9 nail-biter.
10-9 nail-biter.
Absolutely.
We'll find out. Someone that's biting their nails heading into the NCAA season is fencing, as they look to try and get back to the podium after losing to Harvard last year on the team title. Chris Daly has more on our fencing program.
In the world of sports, there is one word used in particular a lot more than the rest: dynasty. We can go back to this month with the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL, or a couple years ago in college football with the Alabama Crimson Tide. However, in the modern era of sports, there is no team and no dynasty quite like the Notre Dame fencing program. The team has won 5 out of the last 7 national championships, and their road for their 6th championship in 8 years began this past week as they dominated at the ACC Championships in Chapel Hill. Let's take a look into how Notre Dame obtained 7 of the 8 trophies given out this weekend. We start on Saturday, where Olympic bronze medalist and 2023 national champion Esther Muhari claimed her first ACC crown in épée. The runner-up, none other than her teammate, Kaylin Shea. Then in foil, it was another all-Irish bout. Rebecca Candescu ousted teammate Adriana Tucker in a 15-13 classic. And finally, freshman star and Team USA Olympian Magda Skarbonkevich won gold in saber. And unlike the others, Skarbonkevich did not face a teammate in the match. Let's look at the emotion Skarbonkevich showed and then hear from head saber coach Christian Rossoni on what it means for Skarbonkevich to win gold and the talent she has showed as a freshman.
Wow. Oh, and she's done it. Magda Skarbonkevich wins her first ACC championship.
Yes, it's a very strong characteristic quality of her is the emotion and the heart that she puts on the strip, and it's incredible, an incredibly passionate student athlete, and she always fancies and fights literally with 100% with everything she has, and it's really impressive to see her, and so young and already able to do that.
Then we head to Sunday. Although the Irish didn't place in men's épée, they cruised through both foil and saber. In foil, after an early 3-3 tie between Notre Dame's Liam Boss and Dominic Joseph, Boss exploded for a 10-0 run en route to his first championship. Then in saber, Notre Dame's Radu Nitu and Ahmad Hesham squared off, with Nitu picking up gold. Head saber coach Christian Rossoni talked to me about his coaching strategy when 2 of his own are competing against each other.
Oh, it's totally their business. I just leave. Most of the times I don't even watch the bout because I don't want to get involved in any manner possible. But of course, it's very satisfying, and I'm very proud of them. And they did a really very good job.
We thank Coach Rassioni for his time, and we'll be sure to keep you in tune with everything Irish fencing as they head into NCAA regionals and nationals this March, right here on Shamrock Sports. Chris Daly signing off.
Hey, well, thanks so much to Chris Daly and giving us an inside depth on what should be hopefully maybe another national championship for them. If their ACC showing is any indication, we bring back McKenna Andrew to give us that final last couple seconds of predictions here for this Louisville game on Sunday this weekend. I want one key to victory for both of you.
I'll start off, and the key to victory here is play Irish basketball. I'm going to keep it pretty straightforward here. The last couple of games for this Irish team, they've been very out of rhythm, out of sync, not playing the way they have been all year, playing tough defensively, keeping teams to low scoring, and then putting the ball in the basket and shooting well from beyond the arc. That if they just play how they did earlier this year when they beat the Cardinals 89-71 in Louisville, they're going to have absolutely no problems. And this team is quality. They're kind of spread out. Good guard play, good play from the forward position. They have a lot of talent, about 3 or 4 girls averaging right around that double-digit mark. The Irish are more talented. They're better coached, and they have the talent to get it done if they simply revert back to how they've been playing for 90% of the season.
For you?
I think we need to keep our stamina up. I think the reason we've lost the last 2 games is we fell the second half. I don't think we can do that on Sunday. I think we should look into maybe playing our bench a bit more, getting them some more points. I'd love to see Lucy Jensen on that court. Flaherty Hall.
That means if Lucy Jensen is on the court, that means the game has gone right for the Irish, or it's gone maybe the worst game you'll see all year for them. I agree on that. Let's get score predictions really quickly for you. Who do you got and why?
I don't think we'll see Lucy Jensen, but we'll see an Irish victory here. I got 84-67, Notre Dame taking home the victory against the Cardinals.
Got it. For you?
I've got 88-76, a little higher score, but still Notre Dame, and I want to win nachos. So
I was going to say 88. Yeah. She's going to take home the nachos. You could get legends. Maybe go to the game. It is sold out, though. I have to go to the second.
Just got to add, Reidy, that green jacket was not it. I love the green jersey.
Whoa, we're going 3 segments back here.
I had to reach back there because I saw that jacket and I immediately thought, wow, it must have been laundry day. Jeez. I mean, oof. Reidy, not my thing. Not my thing.
I didn't mind it.
All right, I had to say it. I had to say something. I could not let this go unaddressed.
I have nothing else to say. This has been Shamrock Sports. We'll find out if we have a crew when we take our 2-week hiatus with midterms up. Trey Cotey might not be here. Tyler Reidy might file an HR complaint. I have no idea.
Murph,
where's Ryan Murphy? Murph, can we have a litigation out here? This has been Shamrock Sports. Thank you so much for tuning in.